Hey everybody, it's Christine, and I am continuing my quilted scrapbooking series today. I am using the Flavors of the Month kit from the ScrapRoom, and this one features the Cozy Days collection from Simple Stories, which you've seen me work with already before, and I couldn't resist the chance to work with it again. So what I'm doing is I am creating a quilted background using layered squares. And there is a variety of approaches you can take to this. But what I am doing is I punched out squares, and I'm using all the patterned papers in the page kit, so 6 different patterns. And I am putting one square on to look like a square, and then one on at a diagonal on top of it. And if you were using fabric, you would do this differently. But I'm using paper. It doesn't cost anything, or doesn't cost much of anything. And it's easier to layer one on top of the other than not. Obviously, if you're a quilter and you're watching this, you're going, that's not how you make this pattern. No, I 100% know that, but paper layers are totally different from fabric layers. So what I am doing is each of my squares is connecting at the corner, at the vertex, if you will. And so that is creating an X in between, because I put the diamond shape over the top of it. And I'm going to show you just real quick here how I also create the edges, just so you can see, because I did originally leave the edges alone and it did not look good. You definitely want to add the edges in here. And so you're going to obviously have to trim off the excess, but just having the design continue and not just randomly stop makes way more visual sense than you probably even think it would. I definitely discovered that. So this is what it looks like. Now, I also want to show you that I added in some outlining, and I originally, again, didn't do this. I didn't intend to do this, but I felt like it was a little too chaotic. I don't even know what the right word is, mushy, and that doesn't even make any sense, but things were not crisp enough. And so by adding in that outlining, you could see right there how quickly it changed things up. Now, all of what you just saw me do was redone for you because my video file got corrupted. So now we're actually going into the real layout. So if you're looking at it and going, that's not exactly what you did before, you are correct. That was a re-recorded tutorial. So you'll see me doing some of this stuff again and whatever. Anyways, you can see I have got on there the whole quilted look right now, except the edges. So like I mentioned, those are going to come in because they did not look right without the edges. And you can see there's just a weird random white margin at this point. You also can see that I matted it on a navy blue cardstock, and that was just to add a finished look. It definitely needed it. Now, when you do a design like this and you cover the whole page, it is always a challenge to figure out what's next. I highly recommend taking a look at Paige Evans' Instagram if you get to a point where you're stuck, because she tends to do a lot of pages where the whole background is filled with the design and then places her pictures on there. So what you're seeing right now is the behind the scenes. I am trying to figure out if and where I want to place my pictures. Do I want to use 4? Do I want to use 3? Do I want to make them in a grid? What do I want to do? And you do see that I cut them into a circle. I knew I wanted to go with that for sure, just to soften everything up a little bit. And it also enabled me to still get all the pictures on there that I wanted to. And I just used a metal die cut run through my Cuttlebug to cut the pictures into a perfect circle. And you can also see that I did matte those with a yellow that coordinates with this page kit, kind of a mustardy yellow. And literally, I'm just trying to figure out, do I like this? And I don't. So this is not where I'm going to land. So if you're looking at it and thinking, no, I'm with you. But I do also think it's important for you to see like how the process comes together. You can see that I do obviously know I want to pop it up. So I've got that 3D foam tape on there, and I just don't have it sticky yet. I've left the layer on it so that I can move it around and still figure out. And obviously I'm really struggling because it doesn't usually take me quite this long to figure out where I want things to land. And honestly, at this point, this is where I shut off the video and I hop on Instagram and look for some inspiration for people who design this way on a regular basis and how they make it work. Because one of the things that's really important to me is that my pictures don't get lost. It doesn't matter how cool the design is. If your pictures get lost, you're missing telling the story. And then it's all about the art. And for me, it's really equally about the art and the storytelling. So I try to be really careful about making sure the pictures don't get completely buried. And I think I was able to achieve that by placing my pictures as I did here. Now, the next thing I need to do is figure out how to get a title on there. And so I am going to go ahead and use that fourth circle that I cut out up there at the top. And I'm going to use that as a base for my title. Combining, I'm going to use some chipboard and ephemera and various things from my stash to work on the title, as well as from the page kit. Now, the next thing is really just embellishing. And obviously, I don't have to do a ton for embellishing, but I do want to do some. And so one of the things I decided is I want to work in a little more of that pink and make the pictures pop still a little bit more. So I punched out some circles with that pink, which it's really a pink peach color. I punched out some with that, and I'm putting those in with the pictures to just make it pop a little more, and I think that's exactly the right touch for what I needed. You still get the gist of the quilt design. It's still there and very obvious, but covering it up just a smidge is allowing for things to pop a little better. And so I'm also going to do that up at the title as well. And, you know, using a variety of size circles there, both punched and using a metal die cut. Now, I really, really want to get that flower in there, and I keep pulling it out. It's not gonna work. It's too busy on top of the quilted look to make it happen. So definitely something to consider if you're approaching a layout this way. Do you want to heavily embellish? If you do, this is probably not the style to create in, because there's just not a lot of room for extra embellishing when you do this much with your base. And if you look at other layouts that kind of fall in this style, you'll see the same thing that I'm saying. There tends to not be a lot of embellishments because the pattern paper did the job for you. I am going to add in a few little leaves, and these I just fussy cut from one of the patterned papers. I've got those little puffy stickers there, and I may use a few of those. They're off on the left-hand side there for just some teeny tiny embellishments, accents really more than embellishments. Throughout, but not anything too heavy for sure. Now, as you will see me finishing off my embellishing, I do want to point out, as I did early in the tutorial, that I do go back and I outline everything, and I try to avoid outlining late in the game, but literally I was done filming the video when I went back to do my final outlining, because I just looking at it realized it needed the outlining. And I also went back and added those extra outer edges to make it look more complete. And you will see in my final picture here in just a moment that it looks much more complete because I added those elements. But I'm going to give you a quick look at the close-up of the embellishments at this point, and then I will shift you over to a photo at the end. Be sure to visit the scrap room, check out the kits for this month, and get on that list for those December kits. And thank you so much for stopping by today, and we will catch up with you again next time.